Guys, we got massive news to talk about, and this is going to revitalize sales once and for all, and this is going to really help boost sales numbers going forward. But first, we got some fantastic news. It's not the end of the month yet, but Envo L90 has already achieved 10,000 deliveries. Absolutely fantastic. That means that this month it is guaranteed that there will be over 10,000 Envo L90 deliveries. And also, the 7-seater Envo L90 is now in a lot of stores across China for customers to check out. And of course, they said that they will produce the 7-seater Envo L90 in around September. So they are starting to ramp up production of the 7-seater version. Now, remember how we talked about a fully spec ES6 with a 100 kilowatt hour battery pack actually costs more than the new ES8, and it made absolutely no sense for someone to buy the ES6 with 100 kilowatt hour battery pack because it's more expensive than the ES8. It just made no sense whatsoever. You would have to put a gun to someone's head to force them to buy that. They would rather just buy the ES8. Now, NIO has finally made an adjustment that will help boost sales of the 5566, 777 models, and this is of course the fact that the 100 kilowatt hour battery pack will now come standard in place of the 75 kilowatt hour battery pack without any price increase. And this actually has a side effect of being a big massive price discount, which we'll talk about in a moment. But first of all, NIO's giving out 240 free swap vouchers, 5 years of 0% interest, 3 years of NOP Plus as incentive to purchase the car. And man, oh man, let's talk about these price cuts. So the entry level price remains the same, $298,000 starting price for ET5, ET5T, which is around 41.6K US dollars for these two models. But of course, now you have the 100 kilowatt hour battery pack. Now, what's really interesting is that if you go with battery rental, right? Before, with the 75 kilowatt hour battery pack, you go with battery rental, you subtract 70,000. But now, because it's a 100 kilowatt hour battery pack, the battery pack is worth more, so you subtract more. So what that has caused is that the battery rental price, all right, the base price of the car is much cheaper, aka the price of the car without the battery pack. So for example, before, the ET5 would cost 228,000 RMB renting the battery, okay, which is 31.8K US dollars. But now, because of this sort of upgrade / price cut, it only costs 190,000 RMB to buy the ET5 or ET5T without the battery, which is around 26.5K US dollars. So across the board, if you choose to rent the battery instead of buying the battery for the ET5, ET5T, ES6, EC6, ET7, EC7, you're getting a 5,300 USD cheaper price, okay, if you choose to rent the battery. And of course, that does mean that with renting the battery, you're paying a slightly higher monthly payment of 1,128 RMB, which is around 157 US dollars per month, but that isn't much different from the 728 RMB or 100 US dollars per month that you're paying with the 75 kilowatt hour battery pack. So across the board, they have made the NIO vehicles much more affordable whilst boosting the battery capacity. So this is absolutely game-changing, guys, right? You're making the car cheaper, and you have more range. So this is definitely going to help with sales going forward, like absolutely 100%. And you're not going to have the situation where people are forced to buy the ES8 because it's just much more better price-wise. So now the pricing of the car makes much more sense, and the ES8 won't cannibalize these other vehicles, which I said would happen. And of course, NIO has done the appropriate adjustments to make sure that everything sells well. So this is very nice, and this also has a side benefit of the fact that going forward, all future NIO buyers have at least 100 kilowatt hour battery pack. All right, that means they're going to have excellent range. You're not going to have people complaining about the range and stuff. Now, this has some existing NIO owners kind of worried, and we'll talk about that in a bit. But what about the people that just bought the car? All right, people that just bought the car with the 75 kilowatt hour battery pack, or they just bought the car with the 100 kilowatt hour battery pack and they paid extra. Well, NIO has a great compensation, which is of course a 6,000 RMB voucher, which is roughly like 950 US dollars voucher for you to purchase a new NIO. Yes, of course, it's always, a voucher to purchase a new NIO. All right. No like sort of refunds or anything like that. Always a voucher for a new NIO. So if you want to capitalize on that, then you have to buy a new car. Otherwise, you'll just have to suck it up, which I think is a very, very fair thing to do. But going forward, some people have highlighted the concern that going forward, no new cars will have the 75 kilowatt hour battery pack. Does that mean the swap stations will have less 75 kilowatt hour battery packs and more 100 kilowatt hour battery packs? Yes, 100 kilowatt hour battery packs will be more readily available, which is definitely a good thing. But some existing NIO owners are worried that with no new batteries flowing into the system, are we only going to be left with old batteries that will be more degraded and have lower range, etc. And to that, NIO has responded, do not worry about the health of the battery. NIO makes regular checks on all batteries inside the battery swap ecosystem, and they will ensure that all batteries are up to par and have great health and very low degradation. So in that aspect, we don't really have to worry that much at all, which I think is also very, very nice. And this also has a great side effect of having a perfect sort of stair-step pricing, where you have the four-wheel drive Envo L60 at 226,900 RMB, and then just a tad above that, at 230,000 RMB, you have the battery rental version of the ES6. So you don't have that much price overlap. It's absolutely perfect in that aspect. So if your budget is a little bit higher, you can buy the battery rental of the ES6 instead of the Envo L60 and get yourself a nice upgrade. Same with the Envo L90. If your budget is 300K, instead of buying the Envo L90, you just buy the ES8 battery rental. So this is perfect stair step. I think they've executed this very, very well. And the pricing finally makes sense. I remember the pricing overlap a few years ago. All the cars that NIO had were in the 300K range, and it was just a mess. Like 7 cars had the same price overlap. But now you don't really have that much of a price overlap, which I think is very, very nice. So this is definitely good news. This will help boost sales going forward, and it will not hurt ES8 sales, and vice versa, ES8 will not hurt the sales of the other cars. As always, stay safe, stay healthy. Peace out.